I have started recording. So today we are going to do this. We are going to build more on testNG. We are going to learn all of the XPath one more time. Okay. And we will be practicing in a new website. If you take a look, this Salesforce, right? Let's say we have test cases here. Number one test case for us. Let me bring a notepad. Oh, I haven't. Let me share my screen. So we will have, let's say that, let me know when you can see my screen. Can you see my screen now? Okay, let's say that our first test case is this. Open. Our first test case is um, give me a second. Let me see. Like someone is knocking at my door. Let me just pause this recording. So our first test case is um, I think I have started recording again. I didn't record the initial communication. Okay. So here, let me see. My taskbar. Okay. Take it up there. Let me see if I am recording. Yeah, I'm recording. So these are my two test cases that I'm going to do today using Salesforce, using testNG and all of the XPath that we have learned. We are going to use it. Now the first test case, I'm doing my test case 1, and what I am saying in this particular browser, that actually this is my, in this particular browser, let me expand it. So I'm saying that this is a link. How do you know it is a link? No. If you see A, the tag name, this is the tag name. If you see tag name is A, then it is a link. Okay. Now, can you see in this link, when you see a link, it started here. And when you see with a forward slash A, that means the tag started from here, the tag ended here. Now, can you see the greater than sign and the less than sign? If you double click here, you will see login and some other thing. Login, double quotation, space, right? These are the link text. These are the link text. You got it? Now, when it is a link, you would like to identify that link by link text. Can you see login is the link text? Whatever you see after greater than sign and before less than sign, these are link text. And we are going to identify that object by link text instead of XPath. Okay. So you go there. What is the link text? Login and some other thing. Can you see the whole thing is the link text? But okay, let me copy this and go there. So my first step here in my test case 1, click on login button, my WebDriver dot find my WebDriver dot find element by dot link text. Can you see? And what is the link text? This is the link text, login, and then link text dot link. Okay. So now let's say you put something here, system out println, system dot out dot println. What I'm doing here, clicking on login link. Now if I run it one more time, let me keep this browser so that I can troubleshoot and run it one more time. So it was able to click on the login link, right? Can you see? Now it was able to click on the login link. You understood, guys? What we did up to this? What we did here is, if you take a look at your log, just this one, clicking on login link, and then it was able to click on the login link. So when you see a link, right? When you see a link, you try to identify that by link text. The next step is, for us, the next step is to verify. The next step is to verify. When you click on login, let me close that browser that I have opened. How many browsers? Close this. Okay. So when you go to Salesforce, you come to the page, you click on login. The next step is to verify that logo. You right click, you inspect. Okay. Now can you see, if you put your cursor here, it is pointing out to the logo, right? Now this logo has a ID, the logo has a class, right? The logo has a src attribute, the logo has a alt attribute, the logo has a name, right? So this logo has a id logo. Can you see this? It has a id. Now when you identify that logo, right, when you identify that logo, you can use that id. Now remember, we had a method where to highlight, right? I will bring that highlight method in our execution. So from a previous test, let me bring that highlighter method. Let me see where we have that. Do I have the highlighter method here? No. Okay, let me close that. I'm going to copy the highlighter method from a previous example. Probably I have the highlighter method here. Okay, go all the way down. Do I have highlighter method here? No. Let me close that. Let me minimize that. QA question automation. I'm trying to find out that highlighter method that we have written previously. We do not have highlighter method here. Now let me close it. Do I have highlighter method here? No. We have used highlighter method a lot, right? Guys, with me? Yeah, yeah, I'm trying to bring that highlighter method. Give me a second. So I'm going to bring this highlighter method. I'm not going to create a highlighter class. Instead, I'm just going to bring that highlighter method actually. Let's create a highlighter class. It will be easier in the long run. So I'm going to create a highlighter class. So inside the highlighter class, I'll put that method. Now let me go back. Let me close that. So in my project, this is my project. Here I'm going to create a new, under this package, I'm going to create a new class, and I'm going to name it as highlighted class. Yeah, my highlighter class. And inside the highlighted class, I'll be putting that highlighter method. Okay. Now, if you want to use that highlighter class, right, what you will have to do, you will have to create an object of that highlighter class. So in your you can create that method, you can create that object here so that you can use it in all of your test cases. HLT obj equal to new this and this. Okay, I have created my highlighter object, and then what I am going to do, I'm going to use that object to call my highlighter method. And when I call my highlighter method, what I will have to give, I'll have to give my WebDriver. So what is my WebDriver? My WD and the element that I want to highlight. So let's say I want to highlight that login link before I click on it. Okay, number two is now to verify the logo, means if I can highlight the logo, then I am good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this line, I'm going to put it here, and instead of find element by dot id. Now remember that guys, follow me here, we have an id for that particular logo. What is the value of that id? logo. Can you see id equal to id attribute equal to logo? I'm going to use that id attribute to highlight that logo. Okay, so now after method, in the after method, what I want to do is, in the after method I want to, actually at this point I'm not closing the browser because I want to see the impact of my code. Now if I run it one more time here, and you see it has highlighted the logo, it has highlighted the login link, right? So we were able to verify the logo. In this way, we have made sure that the logo I am able to highlight and I'm good. So you understood like what we did up to this, or you have a question?
Before we did all that stuff, we usually not define the main class or object like the
Yeah.
new object.
Mhm. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. Previously, when we didn't use testNG, then we have created main class and we have created a method class. Is that correct? Okay. So here as well, I'm not going to mess my test case. I'm not going to mess up my test case with all of this code. I will be creating another class. I'll be creating another class here, and I will name it as my method class. Method class. And in my method class, right? In my method class, basically, what I'll do all of this, uh, all of this. Let me see what is this. Let me remove this. So I will do in my method class, I will do all kind of uh, this nitty gritty coding stuff. I'll do it there. Okay, I'll do it there. Now, here is the thing. So let's say that now, can you see this before method? This before method will be executed when? This before method will be executed before every test, right? Before every test. So this before method, whatever code I have, I'm going to take it instead of here. Instead of here, I'm going to take this, actually all of this highlighted stuff, I'll take it inside the method class to make the code looks better. I'll take them there in my method class and I'll put it here. Okay, and then you will see that there I have, if you go to my main class, right, I have taken it. Now it will complain, okay, I do not know this, right? So I will be create, can you see this before method? I'll take all of this code from here and I'll be creating a method here. Let's say I'll name it as before test. This is a method and I'll name it as public void before test, and I will put this stuff here. So this is my before test, right? And can you see that now if you take a look, my main class, so if you do not create your separate class in testNG, then you will have to write all of the code inside the test case. This is not the good practice. So that's why I do not in this particular test case, I just want to call the methods. You will see that what I'm doing, and after that you ask me this question. Okay, so here as you can see that I'm clearing up the space. Now my method class, right? My method class, I will be creating an object of my method class in my main class, right? In my main class here, right? Method, let's say uh, empty obj, right? Equal to new this and this. And then by using that method object in the before method, I'm going to call that, where is my before, where is my before test, right? I'm going to call that. Now it will be opening the browser for me. So my browser is open. After that, next step is I'm going to click on the login button. So I'm going to take it out from here. Okay, and in my method class, I'm going to create here a new method, public void. Okay, click on login link. Okay, now it will be clicking on login link, and then I'm going to call this method from my main class. So I'm going to use that object, right? And we'll be calling dot click on login link. Okay, then next step, my login is highlighted here. The next step, I'll have to take this stuff out, the click one in my method class. So login will be highlighted and clicked. And then I'm going to create another method, public void, right? Here, verify logo. Verify logo. And for logo verification, this is my code. I'll be taking it here, and then by using that method object, I am going to call that verify logo. Okay, so now as you can see, I am not writing all of this code inside my test case. Instead, my code is in the method class. For each of the step, I'm creating a method and I'm calling that method here from my main method, from my main class, which is a testNG class. Now if you execute, So there is a problem here. Probably my code will fail, right? Let's see what is the problem. If you take a look, where is my problem? How do you know the problem and what you need to do, guys? You look at your log and you see my method class, right? Line 23. So here, basically when I'm trying to highlight my appropriate find element by dot id, it is complaining, right? It is complaining. Let's see, no such element, right? No such element. So previously it was able to identify, so probably it is a timing issue. So what I will do, I will put a implicit wait here. My web driver dot manage dot timeouts dot implicitly wait, and then here I'll put a 5-second wait, and then what is that 5 second? I'll give time unit dot seconds. Okay, let me close it. Let me run it one more time and then I'll take your question. So
Except for the semicolon.
good catch. Yeah, let me run it one more time. Okay, so it was a timing issue. I put a wait time there. Now let me see, let me go back. Nahid bhai, let me go back to your question now. Now you ask me a question.
হাইলাইটের যে আমরা আলাদা একটা ক্লাস করছি,
Mhm.
এটা যদি আমরা না করতাম, আর টেস্টিং মধ্যে ক্লাসটা ডিক্লেয়ার করতাম, হাইলাইটের কোডটা ডিক্লেয়ার করতাম, তাহলে কি আমরা বিফোর মেথডে দিতাম না একটা টেস্ট হিসেবে?
So here's the thing. You from the testNG class, if you put it here, like the highlighter, if you do not want to create a highlighter separate class, you can create a method. You can create a method in this one, and you can call that highlighter method. So let's say no, you do not have to put. You do not have to. You put in the before method. You put only whatever you want before the test. Before the test, you want to open the browser, and if you have other thing, you do not do highlight before the test, right? Before method. In the before method, you only do whatever you need to preparatory work. So if you do not want a separate highlighter class, what you will do, you take this method, and inside your method class, you can create a separate method here, right? And then let's say that instead of, you can directly call this highlighter method here, highlighter, and then you give whatever you need. Okay, that will work. You create a separate method inside that class. Why I have created a separate class? Because I might have multiple method class and I want to call that from all of the method class. That's why I created a separate class for this. But if you do not want to create a class, you can create a method inside the method class and you can call that highlighter method. Does it make sense?
Like that we did the previously.
Yeah, like previously we did. You can create a method here, right? And then you can call it. It will work. Got it, Nahid? Okay. So next thing is we are going to go there. Here we are going to input a oh, in this particular text box. I'm going to input a test user. So here, what is this? If you take a look, if you take a look, it is a, what is the tag name for this object? What is the tag name for this object?
Username,
Mhm.
class, input class.
Input. The tag name is input. And then class equal to, when you see a class value has spaces, you do not want to use that for identification. Okay. Now, the next thing that we have, type equal to email, value name equal to username, but it has a ID. We can identify that object by ID. Can you see? ID equal to username, right? So that is what we are going to use to identify that object. So ID equal to username. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to write a method in my method class. I'm going to write a method. Let's say the name of the method will be public void input user name. Public void input username. And here, if you take a look here, I'm going to write my web dot find element by dot, it has a ID. And what is the value of that ID? Username, right? And then we are going to say dot send keys. We are going to send a value. Let's say test user at gmail.com. Now, if you want to highlight that object, right, you will have to use the highlighter method, right? So I can, since I have it in the method, I can call directly the highlighter method, or I can call it by the object HLT. Give me 1 second, guys. Let me quickly respond to a chat. Okay, so the here the input username. Now I want to do a highlight. So for highlighting it, I can highlight it in multiple ways. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to put it here. And what is my object? Now I want to highlight that this particular text box. Okay, so input username. Our input username is good. Now I'm going to write another method to input password. So input the scanner class is, it will take input from the keyboard, and yeah, definitely you can take that input to the text box, to a variable, and then you can pass it. But here in this particular case, we are inputting a username. That is, we know that we are going to input that username. But if you want to take it from the keyboard, you can take it from the keyboard and you can input it there. Yeah. Nipa, was I able to answer your question? So multiple username, let's say that in that particular, at a single time, you cannot put multiple username in the text box, right? But you want to log in by one user, and then next time you want to use another user to log in, right? And next time, let's say you have a set of users, 4 or 5 users or 100 users, you want to see if those users are able to log in. Is that what you want? So if you want that, in this particular case, we are eventually, if I see you guys are putting your time, because as of now what I'm saying, like, you are not putting enough time. If I see you are putting enough time, you are learning, then I will be showing you all of this stuff regarding it. It will be like, we will have to put these users in a Excel or in a text file, and then we will have to read it from there, and then we can run it by using testNG. We can run it multiple times. Okay, so here now I'm going to input password. So if you take a look in this particular website, the text box, if you inspect, the password has ID password, right? So I'm going to go there, and instead of username I'll be putting password, and I'm going to input a password here. Let's say test password. Okay, now I'm going to call this method from my main method here. Dot input username, and then the input password. So now you will see that, right? Now you will see that if you call this, right? If you execute, let me close this browser that I have opened here. Right? It has input the user ID and password. And while doing this, can you see your test case is cleaner now? It doesn't have all of these jargons, all of this, messy code. No, it is a like plain English language. Click on login link, right? Verify logo, input username, input password, and all of this messy stuff, we put it in the method class in an organized way. And another advantage is, let's say you are writing this particular test case, you are writing this particular test case 1, and your colleague is writing test case 2. Your colleague can ask, okay, hey, uh, can you help me? Have you already written method to verify this? Then you say, yeah, I have written. It is in the method class. You can use this class, and you can associate this class in your library, and then you can call this method. So he doesn't have to write this method one more time, because he can just create an object of this class, and then he can call this method in test case 2. You got it? What is the use of this uh, method library? Your colleague can just associate that class, and he can create basically. He doesn't have to create. If he is in the same project, he will be able to just create his test case 2, and he will be able to call all of this method. Instead of writing from scratch, he will be able to do that. You got it, guys? Okay, so please speak up, because I need to understand, like, if you are understanding. Now, see what I'm going to do. Now you saw that I was able to, like, if the object has a ID, I am able to identify it, right? I am able to identify it. But let's say that the same thing, let's say, um, for example, this line, right? Instead of ID, you can do something. Okay, okay. So let's say that this logo, right? Since we are only highlighting this logo, let's talk about here. Let me write this, and let me comment out this, and then you create another line. Now, after the by, remove this. By dot, you put XPath. Okay, when you put XPath, know this, you put your double quote. and then you put your forward double forward slash, and then after the double forward slash you put your tag name. Okay, and then you put your box bracket, and then inside the box bracket you put your at the rate attribute name, and then equal to, in the single quotation you put attribute value. Okay, now let me go back there, this particular logo, right? Now this particular logo has an attribute id value equal to logo. It has a class value equal to standard logo. It has a src value equal to this. It has a alt value equal to Salesforce, right? It has all of this attribute. Border equal to 0, name equal to logo, yeah, it has this attribute. But border equal to logo, border equal to 0, many of the attribute might have, many of the object will have border equal to 0. So this is not a good attribute to identify that object. So let's say you want to use class attribute to identify that object. Now what is the value of that class attribute? This. Now you go back to your code here. What is the tag name? If you take a look, that ID, that logo, what is the tag name? Nipa, what is the tag name here in this particular logo? Image, img, right? So you go there, instead of tag name you put img. Okay, and then attribute name. What is the attribute name we are going to use? Class. And what is the value of that attribute? Standard. Got it? Okay, so now if you run it one more time, okay, now you saw that it was able to identify that Salesforce logo, right? And how did it identify that logo? By that img class standard logo. Let's say that, okay, now you are not going to use that class attribute, you are going to use another attribute. So you are going to use id attribute to identify that object. How will you do that? How will you do that, guys? Yeah. So it is image. Instead of class, you want ID, and the value of ID. The value of, like, if you highlight this, if you inspect this logo, right? Logo, right? So you come here, you just put logo. You run your code again. Let me close this browser. Okay, it was able to identify the Salesforce logo. Okay, now let's say that no, you do not want to use that, particular ID. So what else you have to identify that object? So you have, can you see src equal to this, right? Src equal to this, I'm going to copy this. So over there, instead of ID, I'm going to say src, and then I'm going to put the value of the src. Okay, now you saw that it was able to identify it, right? Now, what is your take? What we did up to this, what is your take regarding writing XPath? You understand how we have written XPath? Nipa, you got your clear understanding about how you write XPath? We will write a couple of more XPath, you will see. Okay, so now if I ask you, can you see this particular text box? This particular text box, you want to write um, XPath for this. How will you do that? So let me comment this out, and then you put it here. Put it here by dot XPath, right? By dot XPath. Now you put your double quotation. Inside the double quotation, you put your double forward slash. You come here, you right click, you inspect one more time. Okay, now you see, if you take a look, this is the one, right? If you want to write a X path, now what is your tag name? Input. Let me write it here. My tag name here is input, and then after that I'll have to give my box bracket, and then here I'll have attribute name equal to single quotation attribute value. Does it make sense up to this? Okay, now attribute name, what is the attribute? You tell me, what is the attribute you are going to use to identify that object? Okay, type equal to email. This attribute name is type, and attribute value is email, right? You come here to your code, instead of attribute name you say type, and what is the value of the type attribute? Email, right? And then you say send keys, and what send keys you want to send? Let's say test at gm.com or gmail.com. Okay, now you run it one more time. Okay, it was able to input test at gmail.com, right? Okay, so now if you, let me close this, if you go to this page, what other attribute that you can use? It has id, that, right? Value name equal to username, right? Let's see if we can use this value name. Value, it seems like it has a space. When there is a space in the attribute name, always there is a problem, but let's see if it works, right? So if I go there, here instead of type, I'm going to use value name equal to what is the value name? Username. Now you run it one more time. Okay, so username, it was able to highlight, but can you see it was not able to input? Because when inputting we have used a attribute name that has a space. When you have spaces in the attribute name, then it is a problematic. We are not going to use it. Can you see? If you go there, element value name, can you see? We'll see that unable to locate an element with XPath expression, this because of the following error. What is the error? Syntax error. Failed to execute evaluate on document input value name. This space, right? It is problematic. Is not a valid expression. You cannot have spaces in the attribute name. So that's why Selenium is not able to identify that. So here, what alternative we have? If you go there in the page, right? If you take a look, we cannot use that, right? Value name, username. So we have ID, we have type, right? We have this attribute to identify it. Can you see name? It has another, no, it is another thing. So can you see this input attribute is started here and it has ended somewhere, right? But to identify it, we have to use a attribute name that doesn't have a space. Yes. Okay. So the next thing, if you take a look at that, so what, like let's say I can use ID equal to username, right? So if you go there, instead of this value name, I can use ID, right? And if you run it, it should work. Okay, now it is working, right? Okay, so here we have written few XPath. We have identified object by ID or other link text, right? The next thing here is for us to click on that login button. Inspect. So here, if you inspect this login, right? If you put your cursor here, this login is what? This login, what is the tag name for this login? Input. It has a class and value is with spaces. So we are not, can you see? Class equal to the value is has spaces. We are not going to use that. It has a type equal to submit. It has a ID equal to login. You can say, okay, find element by dot ID, and then you can directly put that ID, and then you can identify that object by XPath. You can use name, you can use value, all of this attribute to identify this object. So I am going to use XPath to identify that object. But if you have ID, what is the best approach to identify an object? You use ID to identify that object. You got it, guys? So here I'm going to write another method here. Public void, right? Click on login. Click on login. Now inside there, I'll be using my highlighter object, and here find element by dot. I can use ID, but I'm not going to use ID. I'm going to use XPath. So by dot XPath, and then put your double quotation, put your forward, double forward slash, and then put your tag name, right? What is your tag name here? In after the tag name, put your box bracket, and inside the box bracket, put your array attribute name to single quotation attribute value. Now you go back there. So here I can use, as I said, I can use type equal to submit, right? I'll be, instead of attribute name, I'll say type equal to submit, right? So it will highlight, and the next thing is I'm going to click on that. So I'll copy it from here to here, and then in the next line I'll say dot click, and then the next thing I'm going to call this method from my mthod obj dot, we'll put this, and then that's all. So we close this, we run it. Okay, it has clicked on that login button. Now I got the error message. Now my next attribute, okay, so that login, I have identified that login button by what? I have identified that login button by submit, type, type attribute, and the value of type attribute is submit. I can use that name, I can use that value, right? So let's say if I use that value attribute, right? Let's see what happens. So here in my method class, I click on login. I will have to use, instead of type, I'm going to use value. And what is the value of the value attribute? This. Now you run it one more time. Save it and run it one more time. Okay, so it was able to click on the login button by using another attribute. You got it? Any question up to this? Okay, okay, very good. Now the next thing is I'm going to verify this error message. If I got this error message, that means the website is working as expected. So let me copy this error message to a text box, okay, for some reason, and let me inspect it. So my task is to make sure that the error message appeared. Okay, now here, if you take a look, this error message has an attribute. What is the tag name for this error message? div. What is the class for that error message? Login error. There is a id error, right? There is a id error. Can everyone see this? Okay, so we are going to use this class attribute to id. We can use directly, we can use id, right? You understand this? We can use id by dot id, but we will be writing an XPath for that. Okay, we will be writing an XPath. And one other thing, I'm not sure if I have discussed with you, right? If how will you make sure that your XPath will work, right? If you go to console and if you write here $sign x, right, and then here you write your XPath. So what is your XPath? You put double quotation and then you put your forward slash, and what is the tag name here? This particular object, div. Class is this, right? Class is this. So you go to console, right here you write div, right? And then after div you put your box bracket, and then in the box bracket you put your attribute name, right? At the rate attribute name. What is the attribute we are going to use? Class. You put your equal sign, and then in the single quotation you put the value. You put the value. Now let's see what happens. So we have written this div, and then in the box bracket we have at class, and then we have the value. Now let's see if I press enter here, right? It is saying that, let me see what I got. So it was basically not able to identify any object. So let me see what is the problem that I have in this particular syntax. Class login error at x, right? XPath, and then we are putting double quotation, and this is the div, and then we have given at class, login error. Let me see one thing. I'll go to the console again. At X and then class div at class equal to login error and this, right? Okay. So what is the other attribute we have for this? Let's say that with class I'm not able to identify that. We have a ID, right? ID equal to error. So if you go there and instead of class, if you put ID and then the value of ID is error, right? So now if you press enter here, div error, login error, length 1, array, let's see, right? Can you see class? And then actually it is identifying by both. Can you see, like I have written this one here, and when you put it here, is it pointing out? Like if you make it, it is pointing out, right? And then if you, can you see, it is pointing out. If you go there, it is pointing out. So that means I can use both of the attribute to identify use. So what I'm doing here, you understand? So let's say that this one, this logo, right? If you, okay, let me correct it here. Let me explain it by this one. Let's say that if you go to your console, right? And then class login error. If you do a spelling mistake here and press enter, now do you see anything here? Do you see anything here? No. Versus if you come here, can you see? You see that you have something in that box bracket, right? Is that correct? Whereas if you give incorrect, right? Do you see anything in the box bracket? Can you see here? You see a lot of thing in the box bracket. If you write it correctly. If you write it incorrectly, do you see anything in the box bracket? No. That is how you verify from the browser if you are writing correct XPath. So for us, this is the correct XPath. So what we are going to do, our correct XPath is this. I'm going to copy this and I'll take it to my code. Like I showed you a way how from the browser how you can verify your XPath is good or not. Okay. Now you come here, you write a method public void verify login error message, and here first of all you highlight it, right? hlt obj dot highlighter, and highlighter, what is that? My web driver, comma, what is your element? My web driver dot find element, and then here by dot what? XPath. And what is your XPath, guys? Your XPath is in the double quotation, you put your XPath. You copied already XPath. Oh, actually, let me do this. You don't need a double quotation, you directly put it here. Okay, this is your XPath that you have copied from there. Okay, you have one extra bracket. I'm going to remove that. Oh, this is this extra? So I have started this one, and then I need one more. 3. Yeah, probably I need one more bracket. Okay. Now, so let's say first of all, if it is able to highlight, right? So I'm going to call this from here, and then testHD obj dot verify login message. Let me execute it one more time. Save, run. So let me see what is happening. It was probably not able to highlight that. No, there is no error message at least. Do I have any error message? No. So let's see what I did in the method. There. So how many bracket I have started? Let me take a look. 1, 2. Oh, there is an extra bracket here. I do not need that. I'll have to remove. We keep 2 only. Yeah, we are good. Now let me run it one more time. Now what? Was it able to highlight? We even do not have a failure. Let's see. We do not have a failure. Let's see what is. No. We have started 1, 2, 3. So we have to close 3 brackets. Now div at class login error. So we are trying to highlight it by class attribute, and it is not showing any error, but let me see if I go to that browser here. If I come here and this error message, if I attribute inspect, yeah, we'll have to use a different attribute. Let's see what is actually happening. So this has a class login error, and with login error we have a id as well. Id, if I use class, okay, let's use id to see if it, yeah, instead of this class is some kind of not reliable way of identifying object. So if you have other way of identifying, do not use class. So let me run it one more time. Okay, identify. Okay, so now let me tell you guys one thing. Why you do not use class attribute to identify object? Okay, let me explain that. Now let me go there, inspect. Okay, let me come to the console. Let me put this code here. Class login error, right? You come here, you put your $x. Now what do you see here? The number wise, what do you see here? 2. Okay, now let me go to console. Let me go to console again. So we are good here. Now instead of, now you see 2 here, right? Note this number 2, right? Now if you put instead of class, if you put id and then if you put error, right, press enter, Now here, do you see any two? Do you see any two? Do you see any two here, guys? Can you speak up? No, no, no. But but when you do this, when you do this, you see two here. Is that correct? So two means we have two objects. If you if you write this description, if you write this description, you have two objects. You have two objects, and that's why our code was working. It was identifying another object that is hidden, that we do not see. It was identifying that object. So when you have written id equal to error, you do not see any two. That means we have only one object with that id. Now it is working. Now let me go there. So in this particular one, let me go there, expand it. Can you see there is a this object and then there is a this object? There are two objects. They are like, can you see on when you put on this one, when you identify that object, like there is a one object here somewhere hidden. Can you see? It was probably highlighting that object that we do not see. So when you have, when you class, what does it means? Class means multiple object in the same page can have same class, can have same class. But id wise, one object will have only one id. You got it? So that's why if you have a other way of identifying object, you do not use class object to identify the object. Okay, if you take a look here, what is the class for this input? Input R4 wide MB16 M84 username, right? It is. So you will see that just a general role is with class attribute, you might have multiple objects that have same class. So class is, it is a discouraged way of identifying object. Is it clear? Do you have any further question on this? Okay, now let me go back. So now my goal is to verify the error message. If that error message is appearing in the page. So I have highlighted that error message. Now I am going to write code. Write code, okay? Now this is the object. This is the object where we have the error message. Now what you will do is string str error message equal to this object dot get. Can you see that get text? So what it will return? The text of that object. And then if you print it, system dot out dot println, right? If you print that error message here in the output, okay, now you execute it. Where is my browser? Logged in, and then it has input. Okay, let me see if it was able to print it, right? You come here and look at, can you see your access to Salesforce has been disabled by our system administrator. Please contact your system administrator for more information. You got it? The error message is there, right? Guys, can you speak, please? You are able to get that error message and it is being printed in the screen. Is that correct? So in that way, uh-huh. Don't mute them. Okay, so here uh, you see that now our activity is you know, so if you take a look at our notepad, has been disabled by our system administrator, please contact your system for more information. Right now, how will you make sure, let's say your requirement is to make sure that this message is being displayed? So what do, you go to your code over there, you put a if condition, if, okay, if, and then here str error message, right? Str error message dot, str error message dot equals, what is it equals, str error message dot equals this. Then you want to say my test case passed, my test case passed, right? So um, another way of doing, another way of doing this is not using if condition, and you can use in testng assert dot can you see assert equal, and then here actual expected, right? what you got what you got is str error message, str error message. And what is your expected? Your expected is this. Okay, now when you are using assert equal, right? Okay, so what in testng, when you put assert equal, so this is what you got from the screen. And what you are looking for this one. Let's say for example, your in your expectation, according to your expectation, right, instead of a system administrator, your expectation was it will come as system manager. Okay, now if you run it, let me close this browser. Yeah, testng. Yeah, with testng framework you can use assert. This it comes with the testng library. So now if you execute one more time, okay, now you go back to your execution. Can you see there is a failure? One failure. Let's take a look what is that failure. If you go to your testng here, can you see test case 1 failed? And what is the problem of the failure? You will get the details here. Can you see Java lang assertion error expected? Your expectation was, can you see your access to Salesforce has been disabled by your system manager? That is what you expected. Your expectation was this, and then it will say, but you found from the application, can you see your access to salesman has been disabled by your system administrator. You see why it is failing? It is pointing out. You got it? If you didn't get it, please speak up, ask me question. So what is assert equal doing? You got it, guys? Okay. Now can you see here assert equals, right? This is what you got from the screen, right? And let's say this is what is your expectation. So when you test something, what do? You read whatever message you got from the screen and you compare it with your expectation, right? Is that correct? So from the screen you got this text. It is, can you see, we put this text here in the variable my WebDriver find element. From this WebDriver, from the WebDriver and from this element you got this text. So this is what you got from screen, and this is what you are looking for. So according to your test case, you're supposed to be getting this message. You got it? You're supposed to be getting, you are expecting I will get this message if my login is not going through. But what message you got? Is there any difference between these two messages? Can you speak up?
Other
The other message is this that you printed, that you on the screen, right? And your expectation is this.
same.
Is same? These two messages is same? How? Then why it is telling it is failed?
Manager is one by administrator. It's different.
So your expectation is you will get your access to the Salesforce has been disabled by your system manager, but got from the screen you got by your system administrator. The text is not matching. So that's why our test case is failing here. Does it make sense now? Everyone?
Get message like verifying like your salesforce.com has been disabled by your system manager.
So that is what when you this is what in your requirement. When you write your requirement, when you write your test case, those details will be in your test case. Like the manual testers, whatever test case they will be writing, right? They will give the expectation. Okay, I'm expecting this. You got it?
Then we write down the
Yeah.
code.
Mhm. Okay. Are we good up to this, guys? Any question? Any further question up to this? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I will conclude my session here. But my expectation from you, next class, you will be practicing whatever up to this I did, and on top of that, the test case 2. Test case 2, click on start my free trial and verify that the page loaded. You will be automating these two test case. And on top of that, I'm going to send few interview questions to you. You will be reading these interview questions. I'll be dedicating probably half an hour for interview questions.
এখন আজকে তো আপনি মানে কলার মেথড দিয়ে করছেন
Mhm.
কলার টেস্ট আমরা যদি
Can you speak up in English, Bhaiya, please?
so do you give this all these methods in the color method?
Mhm.
So if we try to do all this method in the testing, so all the methods you have to declare like a test, right?
Right. The way I did it, the way I did it today, you will be doing it in the same way. You will have a main method, you will have a highlighter class, right? You will have a method class where you will be writing all the methods, and then you will have your test case where you will be calling this method.
So actually in the previous class we did every method we did separate test.
Yeah.
It's like we did the color method.
Mm-hmm. So as I said previously that our code will be evaluated, our code will be evolved throughout the course. There will be further evolve, like there will be more evolved.
The live scenario, this color method.
Yes. In the real life situation, you will have your method library, and you will have in your testNG class, you will be calling those methods basically. Okay.
We the last class another browser
Mhm.
like we don't need to open like the browser. We just do it by Microsoft and just comment our previous couple browsers. You just comment out that. Oh,
Which one?
We have to use the testNG. Like two tests,
Mm-hmm.
whether it is both tests open in the process. So what is the code of the both? One you can like comment out or you can leave.
You can enable, disable, right? Remember, we have, like, if you have two test cases, right, you can put here in the test, you can put enabled equal to true. If you do not want to run it, you can put enabled equal to false.
I saw you don't write. When it's true, you don't need to write it.
Yeah.
Only false you can write.
Yeah. If you do not want to run it, you can put enabled equal to false. Okay. So the only thing I'm looking from you is practice, practice, practice. You're supposed to be doing whatever I'm doing. You're supposed to be doing 2 times of whatever I'm doing. You're supposed to be practice it on this particular website, and then you are going to practice on some other website. Right? If you do not practice, we will be in the same place. I will be moving forward. You will be asking me question from the first class. It will not make sense to you. So I want to see all of your practice in the next class. I will, first of all, I will specifically, I will be going into your screen to see what you have practiced, if you have done it, right? And then from there, I'll be moving forward. And as I said, practice, practice, practice. If you do not practice, it will never make sense to you. All right, guys. So yeah, please practice and come up with question, and hopefully, we will be able to move forward.
And take question.
Sure, please bring it up. Let me just close this recording. It is getting pretty long. Okay, I'm stopping recording here, guys.